All right. Always get my thing out. All right. Just let's. We're gonna have a brief introduction, explain what we're doing here today,
Right.
just to get it on the record. My name's Jacob Sherman, and I'm with the Oklahoma State University Library. Today is October 17th, 2008, and I'm here at the OSU Alumni Center interviewing Rolan Decker, class of 58. We're interviewing Mr. Decker as part of the O State Stories, which is part of the Oklahoma Oral History Research Project. First off, I just want to thank you for your time today. I know homecoming can be pretty busy and you got places to be, people to see. So first off, I just want to thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Glad to do it.
Okay, thank you. First off, I'm just going to ask you your background prior to OSU. Like, where did you grow up, and what high school you attended, and all that information.
I was born in 1936 in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. My parents were living in Dewey at the time, which is a small town north of Bartlesville. No hospital there, and my father was teaching science in high school. Several years after that, we moved to Wilburton, Oklahoma, where my father taught in what is now Eastern State College in Wilburton. And we were there until World War II broke out in the early 1940s. I guess I must have been about 5 when we moved into Claremore.
Mm-hmm.
He worked in a defense plant in Pryor as a chemist during World War II, and then we moved to Ada. Most of my growing up was in Ada, and I consider that my growing up hometown. We moved there right before I entered the 4th grade and stayed in the same school until I graduated from high school. It was Horace Mann School on the East Central University campus. Was initially established as a place where the education students could do their student teaching. As there got to be larger numbers of education students needing places to do their student teaching, they were farmed out to schools in the area, and the need for that lab school was diminished. And so its life ended in 1960, and the building was later torn down and is no longer standing there. So in terms of high school, I'm an orphan. But I treasure those years because when I came to OSU as a freshman, I discovered that the education I had received there, while not extensive in terms of types of courses, was very intensive and prepared me well for my work here.
Okay. Now, what was the size of that high school?
My graduating class was 20 students.
20.
And all of the classes were approximately that size.
Okay.
Very, very small. So we had a lot of personal one-on-one attention. My plane geometry class, for example, had, if I remember correctly, 6 students.
Yes. Now, did you do any activities when you were in high school?
Did, only because it was on the East Central campus. The school itself had no extracurricular activities other than sand-lot football and baseball, softball, whatever, basketball. But I was very fortunate to be able to participate in things there on the campus, the university campus, college then. And a man who came there as band director in about 1948 or 9, started a beginner's band with students at the school that I was attending. And after a couple of years, asked 3 or 4 of us if we would like to be a part of the East Central Band.
Mm-hmm.
And when you ask that of students in junior high, you don't turn that down. So I played in the East Central Band the rest of my junior high and high school years, and also began taking private cello lessons from the band director, who also began an orchestra at East Central. And after about a year, he wanted me to play in the orchestra, so I did that. And so music was my main extracurricular activity there, although it was not associated directly with the high school that I was attending.
Now, what instruments did you play?
I began taking piano lessons at a very young age, and then for the band program, I played clarinet,
Okay.
and for the orchestra, I played cello.
Okay. Now, do you have any brothers or sisters or?
I have one sister who's 7 years younger, and she is a grade school teacher in Lawton.
Okay. Did she obviously she went to school? Did she come here to OSU or?
She did for graduate work.
Okay.
She went to Horace Mann also, except for 2 years when we were living here in Stillwater. She attended that same school that I did, graduated from Horace Mann, and then went on to East Central for her bachelor's degree.
Okay.
And then came to OSU for graduate work.
Okay. Now, did you always wanted to come to college, or was that your plan in life, was to go to college, or?
I never had any idea of doing anything but that.
Okay, because
And,
you lived, basically, you've had that atmosphere growing up.
Yeah. My father, when I graduated from high school, my father had been teaching at East Central, teaching chemistry. He was head of the chemistry department, with bachelor's and master's degrees in chemistry from Oklahoma A&M.
What was his name? Sorry.
Willis Decker.
Okay.
And he realized that if he was going to stay in college teaching, he needed to get a doctor's degree. So when I graduated from high school, the whole family moved to Stillwater. We were here for 2 years while he completed his coursework and the bulk of his research work for his dissertation. And then they moved back and I stayed. And we were, and my sister then was, I think, in 6th and 7th grade here, but the rest of her schooling was there at Horace Mann and then at East Central and then graduate work here.
So what drew you to Oklahoma A&M?
I, at some point, was pretty sure I was going to major in chemistry.
Okay.
My father taught chemistry at East Central. He knew that in a one-man chemistry department, which that was at the time, there were courses that I probably needed as a professional chemist that he could not provide for me. He knew about the chemistry department here because he had gotten bachelor's and master's here. And so he felt that whether he came here or not, this is where I ought to come. And of course, he and his older brother had attended here for their bachelor's degrees back in the middle 30s when it was Oklahoma A&M. So there was kind of a family tradition, and then also the quality of the chemistry department here.
Okay. So can you describe you leaving home and coming here? What was that experience like?
Well, since the whole family moved here before my freshman year, I didn't really leave home in that sense. We lived out in the old Veterans Village out northwest of the campus in the old Army barracks that were up there at the time. And but then when my parents moved back home, by then I was a junior.
Yes.
And so the flying out of the nest, so to speak, had already to some extent begun because I had friends and activities here on the campus. And so there was not the kind of break that a lot of students feel when they leave their parents, their hometown, and all of a sudden find themselves on this huge campus here. When our middle son came to school here, because he had been in the band program in high school, we encouraged him to be a part of the band. He didn't really want to do that, but we kept pushing him, do it one semester and then see what happens.
Yes.
Well, that became his circle of friends right away, and that's what students, I think, need when they come to a large university.
Now, what your major was chemistry, right?
Yes.
Was it strictly chemistry? You didn't change it?
No.
Okay.
Although during that time, before I actually began my coursework, I wasn't sure whether I would major in chemistry or music.
Okay.
And finally decided I could make music a hobby easier than I could chemistry, and so that's the way I went.
Probably safer too. Probably safer too.
Well, yeah, the job opportunities
Yes.
are probably more lucrative in chemistry than they are, although I went into teaching ultimately, which I wasn't going to do either. And the salaries there are not great, but the rewards are wonderful.
So was it in your blood that you were going to be a chemistry, or why the fascination with chemistry?
Probably. With my dad as a chemistry teacher, I don't ever remember not being around a chemistry lab.
Okay.
When I was a little kid, or every once in a while I'd be over there in Dad's chemistry lab. And when I was in high school, after school was out, I'd be over in the chemistry lab until he was ready to go home, and then we'd go home. So I would do things there. On top of that, the high school did not offer chemistry. It was too small a school. But we got permission for me to take first and second semester general chemistry from him with the college students and get it counted as high school credit. And so I got a taste of what it would be like my senior year in high school.
Nice. Now, you lived with your family on first 2 years on campus. Now, what was that like? Was that awkward, or was it?
Not really. I don't recall any real problems about that. In those old barracks apartments, there was an upstairs and downstairs. I had my bedroom upstairs, and that's where I do most of my homework that had to be done and so on. I do recall summer I was taking calculus, that I was working on my calculus downstairs with the TV going. This was in the early days of TV, black and white. Anyway, I would not pay any attention to TV. I'd be working my problems, and then every once in a while I'd get stuck, and so I'd watch TV for a while, and then I'd go back to working the problem. And there was one problem that I was really stuck on. I couldn't get the thing solved, and I think I even ended up throwing my pencil across the room. But, finally I said, oh, forget it. I went upstairs, went to bed. In the middle of the night, it came to me how to solve that problem. I got up, went downstairs, worked the problem out, and went back to bed.
Nice.
So my brain was still working.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Now, what activities were you involved here at Oklahoma AM? And
well, of course, the first activity that I was involved in was band.
Okay.
Marching band and concert and symphonic bands. And I did that all 4 years. I was in the ROTC band 1 year, the Army ROTC band 1 year. That was back when ROTC was required of all male students, 2 years of it.
Yes.
And that was enough for me, so I didn't continue with that. I spent, I think, a couple of years in the orchestra playing cello. But then honorary organizations began to become a part of my extracurricular life. I joined Kappa Psi, the band fraternity, during my freshman year. Was president of Alpha Chapter my senior year. I was involved with the Disciple Student Fellowship. I guess pretty much all 4 years.
Yes.
And through that, got involved in what was then the Student Religious Council. And then several of us felt like that we really ought to broaden that and include faculty and other religious groups. And so we modified that to become the University Religious Council.
Yes.
I don't know if that's still in existence or not. But then I was president of that for a year. And then there was 1 year that I was co-chairman of the Religious Emphasis Week, which I think died a number of years ago. But one of the things that we really tried to do was to broaden the religious groups from which we got speakers. That was one of my main concerns. Then, there were other honorary organizations, the Pi Mu Epsilon Math Fraternity, Phi Lambda Epsilon Chemistry Honorary. I was inducted into Omicron Delta Kappa, Phi Kappa Phi my senior year, Phi Eta Sigma when I was a freshman. Those were not heavy activities. The music programs and the religious programs were the main ones that took extracurricular time. And then, of course, studying chemistry and physics and math, why you give a lot of time to those things.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, where did the marching band perform, or like what events?
Always halftime at football games here. And usually we made 2 trips a year. That was back when we played Tulsa regularly, and if we were playing Tulsa there, we went to Tulsa. I remember going to the University of Kansas, I think it was twice, but a friend of mine thought it was only once. We always went to OU whenever we played in Norman. Then during basketball season, the marching band was divided into 2 pep bands.
Yes.
And Hiram Henry was wonderful in that at that time, students got tickets to go to half of the basketball games because they were students. And they were numbered, and you either got an odd number or an even number. And he would have people in the pep bands so that they could see all the games.
Oh wow!
They could go when they had the ticket, and they played in the band when they didn't. And we sat right down on the basketball floor. And one of my fond memories is when we played University of Kansas when Wilt Chamberlain was playing, and the score had been close at Kansas.
Yes.
And Coach Iba thought that we probably had a good chance of beating them here. And of course, those were back in the days when there was no time clock. Possession of the ball. And he was a master of helping his teams control the ball. They were good ball handlers. And so for about the last 5 minutes of the game, it was tied. About the last 5 minutes of the game, OSU, then Oklahoma A&M, controlled the ball. And Kansas didn't have a chance of making a shot. Then with just a few seconds left, little guard, Mel Wright, I could still see him because I was sitting there in the band. He was standing right out there, took a set shot, hit it. OSU, Oklahoma A&M won, and the field house erupted. It was just, and those were the days of delayed broadcasts from KRMG. So a bunch of us went back to the dorm, turned on the radio, and listened to the rebroadcast of the ball game. And the guy who was doing the play-by-play, I thought he was going to lose his voice. It was just marvelous, you know. He beat KU with Wilt Chamberlain playing out there. So that was one of my fond memories of the marching band situations.
Was that the most memorable, or is there any others that you like?
There was another one that was very early because I was just a freshman when Oklahoma A&M played Texas A&M the last time they played them in the Cotton Bowl.
Okay.
And I don't know what organization it was, whether it was the athletic department or what, but there was a reserved Santa Fe train that took fans, band, cheerleaders from Stillwater to Dallas, and then we bussed out to the Cotton Bowl. And I was in the band. I was one of most of the freshmen, I think, got to march on the Cotton Bowl field, and I was one of those. And I still have the pictures of some of the formations that we did when we were there, and that was a very memorable trip.
Now, did you get great pride from playing in the marching band and representing the university in that way?
I just enjoyed the music. Music had been, and it still is, so much a part of my life and of course the association with all the other folks that were playing in the band. And it was interesting when I came back a little over a week ago for Hiram Henry's funeral. There were 5 of the guys there besides me that played in the band when I was there. And it was such a kick because 4 of them I had not seen in 50 years.
Oh, wow.
And one of them and I had he was the one, he sat first chair clarinet and I sat second chair for 2 years, I know, maybe 3. And we had a long visit then, and he was in communication with me then between that day and now. And we arranged to have lunch today at the Hideaway and had another long visit. So
that's good.
50 years, and you still can get back together and visit about old times. Yeah.
Now, let's get back into more of the academic portion of your OSU career. Can you describe what type of classes you took, where you took them?
I think all of my math classes were in the classroom building, which still stands.
Okay.
When I started taking chemistry, it was in that building across the street here. The facade covers it up, but you can still get back in the guts of that building. And that's where I had my, I think I had all of my chemistry there, come to think of it. I don't think until I started taking some graduate courses, I think that physical science building was built after or finished after my senior year.
Yes.
So I think that that I took all of my chemistry courses in that chemistry building across the way.
Now, do you have any, what was your favorite classes to go to?
Math.
Why math?
I've always loved mathematics.
Okay.
And I have a better grade point in math than I do in chemistry. In terms of chemistry, what was my favorite chemistry class? I basically enjoyed most of them. I have a story or two about some of them I wouldn't want to tell, but anyway, it was basically enjoyable. But the math, in fact, I probably went into chemistry in part because of my love of mathematics.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think I wanted to teach. And I felt like that was, at that time, that was about all I could do with math.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, where can I use math? I can use it in chemistry, so we'll do chemistry, and then I won't have to teach. And then about the second year into my graduate work, I had some difficulty in a couple of courses, and so I began to ask myself, well, now let's see, what are you really good at? What do you enjoy doing? And I'll be doggone if it wasn't teaching.
Yeah.
So that's what I ended up doing. Both my parents teachers, I should say.
Yeah.
And at home, when you're growing up and you have teachers for parents, you hear all the complaints about some students and the complaints about lack of funding from the legislature and so on. And I didn't think I wanted to do that. But that was a real joy. I've enjoyed my students and still do. I see several of them on occasion.
Now, what do you like about teaching? What?
Seeing the light that goes on when a student has been attempting to understand something, and then all of a sudden they realize that they do understand it, and seeing that happen, and also seeing students that you've had become very successful in what they do.
Yeah.
My cardiologist, for example, is a former student.
Of yours?
Yes.
Wow.
And he was an excellent, excellent student, and he's taken very good care of me.
I would hope so.
And our dentist is a former student. Most of the veterinarians that we have used with animals, pets, were former students. And I know about students who have worked for Phillips Petroleum, gone to work as a professor at Texas A&M. Another one who is a patent attorney. He got a PhD in chemistry at the University of Illinois and then went back to law school.
Wow.
And is a patent attorney in eastern United States. And seeing those kids become successful and feeling like, well, maybe I had a little bit of something to do with that is really, really enjoyable.
Now, where did you teach?
I taught at Southwestern State University in Weatherford.
Okay.
31 years.
Yeah, how long, what years were you there?
From 65 until I retired in 96.
Okay.
And there were about 12, 13, 14 of us that taught together for about 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And we really became family and shared things that we learned about teaching various topics. And it was a wonderful family. We've lost 2 of them, but we get back together once in a while and enjoy visiting.
Now, you obviously have a PhD, correct?
Yes, I did 2 years of graduate work here at OSU in the biochemistry department. Decided that the type of research that was available there at that time was not what I was really interested in.
Okay.
Transferred to Purdue University in Indiana and finished my degree there.
Okay.
In my specialty is in an area of biochemistry called physical biochemistry.
Okay.
And I worked with one of the outstanding protein chemists of that day, and enjoyed my time there too.
Okay. And yeah. Now, what drew you back to Oklahoma? Why did you choose to work at Southwestern State?
My major professor at Purdue saw an ad in the Chemical Engineering News that those who belong to the American Chemical Society get, advertising for a biochemist at Southwestern, because they have an outstanding pharmacy school at Southwestern, have had for years.
Yeah.
And they didn't have anybody that had a specialty in biochemistry, and that was my specialty. And so that was what drew me there. I had to discover that that chemistry faculty wanted to do what I wanted to do, which is to provide the best possible undergraduate education for chemistry students. And those 2 factors, the factor that they wanted a biochemist, because the pharmacy students had to take a course in biochemistry. They wanted somebody who specialized in that area. And the fact that the faculty was so collegial and they really were interested in educating, doing a good job of educating undergraduate chemists. And that's what kept me there for 31 years.
Yes. Now, did being close to your family, did that also play a part in that?
Not really, because I had no idea that I was going to end up back in Oklahoma. I could have gone to other states and probably drawn a higher salary. But I might have gotten into departments where there was internal competition and jealousy, and I didn't want that. And this was such a good place to work. And it was nice being close to family.
Yes.
But Weatherford and Ada are not all that close together, so, but anyway.
Same state.
Yeah. Same state, that's right.
Now, let's get back to your OSU experience. Now, what do you remember about homecoming, since you came back, obviously, for homecoming? What do you remember about the past homecomings that you experienced as a student here?
Other than the band's participation in the parade and at halftime, I don't remember much my first 2 years. But my junior and senior years, I was staying in Cordell Hall, which I understand is going to be demolished. I'm going to come up here and cry whenever they do that. No, not really. But Cordell Hall always built a float for homecoming parade. And we usually had 1 or more students who were majoring in architecture. And it was the architecture students who would design our floats.
Yeah.
And then we would spend, well, you know how that goes if you've done that. It's sort of an all-night deal the last 2 or 3 nights of the thing, and stuffing chicken wire and so on, getting those floats put together. But that was great fun. And then, of course, marching in the homecoming parade, and that was good too. And my parents would usually come up. They would come up occasionally after they went back to Ada, because I was in the band, and they'd come up and watch the band. So
pretty good band.
Just like we did when our son was up here playing in the band.
Nice. Now, so after you moved out of the barracks, you moved into the Cordell Hall. What was that experience like?
Interesting.
Interesting. Why is that?
I maintain that every student should live in a dormitory at least 1 semester. Okay. That's an education in itself.
Yeah, it is.
You learn how to get along with different kinds of people,
Mm-hmm.
people different backgrounds, and I think that's important in life, and you learn that. You learn to eat the dorm food, even though it may not be what you would have
Yeah.
fixed if you were cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And there was at least one winter season where I organized a caroling group
Yeah.
among the guys at Cordell Hall. We went around and caroled the girls' dorms and the sororities and so on.
Now, did you have a roommate or?
Yes.
How did you two get along?
I had 3 different roommates, I guess.
Three.
3 different ones during those 2. Well, no, 3. I was in the dorm 3 years because I was there 2 years, my junior and senior years, and the 3rd year, my first year as a graduate student.
Okay.
And so I had 3 different roommates, and that was interesting. The first one I didn't have much in common with at all. The next year, there was a young man that I actually was one of the attendants at his wedding.
Oh, wow.
We became very close friends, and I've lost touch with him, unfortunately. And then the other one was a graduate history major who was very interesting, and we had a lot of interests in common, even though he was in history and I was in chemistry. And then the second year of my graduate work, I moved out of the dorm and found one of the little small slum houses that students live in. This was just off the intersection of Washington and 6th Street, off of an alley down there. And he was a fellow that my mother had taught at Cushing his senior year, and he ended up in the band also playing clarinet, and we became fast friends. And so we roomed together that final year that I was here in Stillwater.
Wow. Now, what was your social life like? What did you and your friends do for fun as students here?
I was a nerd.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, most of my social life revolved around music programs, basically, although, and I didn't date a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was movies, it was dances on what used to be the outside patio, outside the student union before all this other stuff was built. And junior, senior proms when that came up. And I knew most of the guys that played in a dance band called the Blue Notes.
Okay.
And every time they'd play for a dance, I would have a date and we'd go dancing and listen to the Blue Notes, and I'd get a kick out of watching these guys that I played with in the marching and concert bands playing music for dancing there. So that was neat. And movies, of course, in those days were big.
Like what movies did you see? Do you remember seeing?
Oh, I never can remember. I need my wife here because she can remember things I can't remember, or if she can't remember it either. What's the big one on the Civil War and Terra and?
Oh, Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind is one of the big ones.
Where did they play that at?
There was a movie house down on Main Street on the east side, down in the main part of town. But the big one was on the northwest corner of Main and, what would that be, 5th Street?
Mm-hmm.
And I can almost remember the name of it, but I can't. But anyway, I remember more movies that I've seen in more recent years than I can. Going back 50 years, it's hard to remember movies.
Now, obviously, you've had to escape dorm food. So, where would you guys go out to eat for?
Very seldom did I
Very
escape
seldom?
dorm food. Hideaway when it came into existence in '57, which is why whenever we come back to Stillwater, I got to have pizza at the
There you go. Now, is it the same or is it different or?
If you get the pizza that is made the way they made it originally, yeah, it's the same. But that depends, and of course, it's in a different location. When it first started, it was along the east-west street, just south of where it is now, and it was just east of there. Mm-hmm. So you go down to the corner and half a block east, and it was on the south side of that street in an old dilapidated building that I thought was going to fall down then, but it looks like they've refurbished it and put some other business in there now. But that was a good gathering place and a good place to take dates and good place to meet friends and have pizza. And that was the main thing. Of course, there was no Eskimo Joe's back then. Mm-hmm. And my wife always remembers the very first date I had with her. I took her to a place called, now I'm going to have trouble with names again, Townhouse Restaurant.
Okay.
It was out on North Main. I can see where it is. It's a street that runs in front of, on the south side of, I think on the south side of Bennett Hall and all the way out to Main Street. It's in that area. Yeah. And she was impressed.
Uh-oh.
But I had just gotten my paycheck for that. So I said, let's go eat at the Townhouse. But didn't eat out a lot because money was not that plentiful. Mm-hmm. And it cost money to eat out. So
still does. So
I'd sometimes eat at the student union cafeteria or whatever. But
now, your wife was an OSU student.
Yes.
How did you two meet?
She was in the Presbyterian student group, the Westminster Foundation. I was in the Disciples group, Christian Church student group. And at the time we were here, nationally, those two student groups, along with the one from the United Church of Christ, were in merger discussions to form the United Campus Christian Fellowship. And so we had a number of joint meetings. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, where I first, probably not where I first met her, but that's where we became interested in one another. Turns out that her two older sisters knew me before my wife knew me, because they were students at East Central and were active in the band and orchestra programs when I was in the band and orchestra programs. And they remember me as one of those smart aleck little high school kids who was playing in the college band and orchestra. But it was primarily the religious organization and the fact that we have very similar views in terms of our religion and politics and so on. That has been a major tie over the years.
Now, what kind of activities did the University Religious Council do at that time?
We were basically the undergirding organization for Religious Emphasis Week. But while I was on the University Religious Council, we began a speaker series that I don't know if it went for more than 1 year or not, and I should have brought the book that would remind me of the fellow that we had that I remember vividly. He was Episcopalian and also somewhat of a journalist, mm-hmm. and wrote a number of books, some of which we still have in our library, and I can't remember his name. I'll remember it 30 minutes after we end this interview, and I apologize for that. But we got that going, and the talks were held in the Bennett Chapel. Another thing that I took on, and I don't think I really succeeded, they used to keep the Bennett Chapel locked. Okay. Except when there were activities going on. And I felt that if they're going to have a Bennett Chapel on the campus, it ought to be open and available to students who just wanted to go in and
Mm-hmm.
meditate, whatever.
Yeah.
But the powers that be didn't think that was wise. And perhaps they were right, but that was one crusade of many that I didn't win over the years. But
Now, is there any special place on campus that you think fondly of, that you remember more so than others as you walk around? Is like that you get special feelings thinking about?
oh, the north side of Willard Hall, where my wife, not then, we weren't
Mm-hmm.
married, but where she lived as a student, and where I took her after dates before she had to be in. No, the girls had to be in by 10 o'clock, maybe earlier on weekdays, can't remember. But she was on the Oak Legion staff.
Okay.
And because people on the Oak Legion staff had to proofread the paper and put it to bed was the term they
Mm-hmm.
used. And she often drew that responsibility. And I would sometimes go help. And sometimes that didn't get finished until after the deadline. But anyway, that was okay. And of course, Theta Pond.
Okay.
I guess that's a special place for most students.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, the place where the band and orchestra rehearsed, which is no longer there, we rehearsed in the upper floor of the old library building, which was about here. It was torn down before this alumni center was built. And we were told that the west half of that was condemned. And we often wondered if we played a loud enough note if the whole building would come tumbling down like the walls of Jericho. But yeah, that's special. And we had a room where the Kappa Kappa Psi chapter met downstairs next to Hiram Henry's office. And we played a lot of wonderful and very challenging music in the concert and the symphonic bands up there, and a lot of fond memories, a lot of neat people that I remember, some of whom are gone now. But that's a good place in my memory.
Can you share more of your memories of Hiram Henry since he just recently passed?
Yeah, I told somebody that he was truly a gentle man. He was a very good band director and really worked well with students. He had something about him that made you want to do your best.
Okay.
And we did.
Mm-hmm.
He got things out of that band that sometimes would surprise me. In those days, there was less music written expressly for band, so we played a lot of orchestral transcriptions. And being a clarinet player, the music we got was usually violin music.
Yeah.
It was transcribed for clarinet, but it was originally written for violin. And whereas violinists can sit and move the bow very fast for those fast passages, with clarinet players you have to tongue and finger, and wasn't easy, but those were challenges that were very beneficial to those of us around. And he challenged us and did it in a very kind way. But my favorite story with Hiram Henry is one time when we were accompanying the football program to Norman, when they played OU. And we were sitting on the sidelines. The band usually sat on the sidelines in those days. And apparently I was upset with the referees for not calling some rather rough behavior by the OU players. And so I was up yelling and screaming at the referees. Hiram always carried with him, I don't know where this started, I don't know why, but he always carried with him a box of Luden's cough drops. And he would occasionally take one. Oh, one other thing I remember, he always wore suspenders. But anyway, he took one of those Luden's cough drops out of the box and just came over to me and handed me a Luther cough drop. He didn't need to say anything more. He didn't need to say, shut up and sit down. I knew what that was about, so okay. And, very fond memories. And I shall always treasure, we were here overnight, my wife and I, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Can't remember exactly when it was. And we didn't have anything to do for the afternoon, so we were in the motel room, and I told my wife, I think I'll call Hiram Henry and see if he's home and see if I might go over and visit with him, because I hadn't seen him for a number of years. And he always remembered students' names. I swear, that man, I don't know how he remembered our names, but he did. And sure, he was home, and so I went over, and we must have talked for an hour and a half, talked about some of the guys that were in the band when I was and what he was doing, and I'll always treasure that really last time I had to visit with him.
Now, how did he motivate his students? Is there a technique that he used, or was he the forceful guy, or was he the more loving father who?
Well, as I said, I would honestly refer to him as being a gentle man. And he was, I wouldn't call him forceful at all.
Okay.
His personality, the gentle way in which he handled things, but he made it clear what kind of behavior he expected, and so on. But and then he gave us music that was just very challenging to play and work on.
Like what kind of music?
Well, two pieces that I remember very vividly. One year for concert, we played a piece by Wagner called Siegfried's Rhine Journey, which had a very difficult part for the clarinets, probably for other instruments as well, but I didn't know about those. And the fellow that we had lunch with today, Bill Varnum, and I, and another good buddy, Dick Mears, really struggled when we started learning that music because it was very hard. But we were very pleased with the way it finally turned out. And then another one was a transcription of finale of one of Tchaikovsky's symphonies. It was really tough, and I remember those vividly. And then we played Till Eulenspiegel's Merry Pranks by I'll think of the name in 15 minutes. But I remember that one because Frank Ross, who was for a number of years in the ticket office over at the athletic department, after he retired from the music thing, played French horn. And I remember him as a fine French horn player. And he was a little upset because the band transcription of the orchestral music modified the French horn solo a little bit, and he wanted to play it the way the orchestral music was played. And I think Hiram let him play it that way, if I remember correctly. And so I remember that piece of music. And then I listened to a lot of music that's played on the public radio stations. And every once in a while there will come a piece that I have played. And I was telling my friend a while ago that every time I hear an orchestra play The Trumpeter's Lullaby by Leroy Anderson, I think of Bob Pyle, Marshall Metz, and I'll think of the other guy shortly. There was a trumpet trio that we had. Wonderful trumpet section in that band. So that's like meeting old friends. When I hear music that we played in the OSU band, then it's like meeting an old friend because it brings back memories of those guys that I played with.
Now, for you, what's the greater joy? Mastering a orchestra piece are mastering a chemical equation. I'm just curious. Or do you get the same joy out of each?
I think I'd say it's the same. Yeah. Yeah, it's that's a joy that is different from the joy of just having fun somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's really as much fun, really,
Yeah.
to accomplish things that are really hard. I remember a speech that John F. Kennedy gave one time when he said, "We choose to do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard." And you really get satisfaction out of that. Either way, whether it's chemistry, math,
Yes.
or music, whatever the field. Statistics in business, I'm sure you get the same kind of satisfaction. So,
Now, how did attending OSU impact your life?
oh wow, met my wife here. Lots of good friends, lots of good music, lots of good memories. And then when I went to Purdue,
Mm-hmm.
I was competing with students from places like MIT. And I wondered, did the education that I got at OSU prepare me well enough to compete with students from those more prestigious universities? And I discovered that it did. I was doing as well in courses as they were. So, and then it was really my time here, the last year or year and a half, when I began to reassess my professional goals. And that was when I decided to go into university teaching as opposed to industrial research or some such. So, yeah, OSU has been very important. And then the fact that we've had a son come back, go to school here, and be a success in what he does, that's been important also.
So 3 generations of Deckers through OSU?
Mm-hmm. I guess that's right. My father and his brother and my mother and me and my wife and our middle son. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got 2 boys, so maybe we can convince one of them to come here and go to school. But that's their choice. You know? It's just like when our middle son decided he was going to go somewhere and and go into computer science or computer engineering. He wasn't sure which way he was going to go. And we visited University of Texas. We visited Oklahoma State, and I think he looked at 1 or 2 others. Quite frankly, I would have chosen University of Texas after we visited down there because they were doing some interesting extracurricular things that I wasn't sure he was going to have the opportunity to do here. But he felt much more comfortable with OSU, and that was fine. So,
what advice would you give students today from your experience? Whether it be as a student, as a former student, or as a professor?
I think one thing that is very important is to, as you look at where you might go to college your last couple of years in high school, you need to look at your abilities and how well you can learn pretty much on your own, or whether you're going to need some additional help from faculty members. If you're going to need additional help from faculty members, you probably ought to go to a school where the class sizes are smaller, where you have more access to the faculty member, but you ought to make sure that you've got good faculty members in whatever area that you're going to study. But if you can learn pretty much on your own with minimal private help from faculty, then go to the big universities. But two things. Number one, if you go to a big university or a small, I think,
Mm-hmm.
you're wise if you find some way of making a group of friends rather quickly.
Yeah.
And friends that have similar interests and goals to yours. And then work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Study hard.
Okay.
And don't take courses just because they're easy. Because some of the hard courses are the ones you look back upon and say, oh, that was really worthwhile, even though it was tough.
Yeah. Now, is there anything you would like to add to this interview that we haven't discussed?
Yeah, there is. There's a story that I have told a number of people, and I won't mention.
Can you
names,
hold on a
but-
second? We gotta switch out that tape.
We've got about 5 minutes.
Okay. We got 4, so.
When I was in school here in Arts and Sciences, we had to take 2 semesters of a course called Humanities.
Okay.
And that was a very valuable course in terms of general education, broad education. We had 2 large sessions a week, as I recall, where all the students met, and big lecture hall. But then we had small seminar classes that met with maybe 25, 30 students. The professor I had in one of those courses was an agnostic philosophy professor.
Mm-hmm.
And he did more to challenge my religious thinking than just about anybody, to the extent that I had that class at 11 o'clock, and I must have had indigestion after lunch each day, because I had to struggle and make my religious views my own rather than what my parents had taught me.
Yeah.
And that experience probably changed me as much as about anything that I experienced at OSU. And in those days when I was taking that class, I thought it was awful. But I look back on it now and realize that even though he probably should have been spending more time on the material we were reading,
Mm-hmm.
What he did for me was valuable.
Just challenge you or
Yeah.
refortify
I
your beliefs?
I had to start, as my mother-in-law said, working out my own salvation. I had to start thinking, okay, what is it about your faith that you believe, that you really think is worth hanging on to, in spite of some of the things you're hearing from that professor. And if I hadn't had him, and then there was a math class I had, my second calculus course. The man couldn't teach math very well at all, I didn't think. So I had to teach myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out I could do that.
Yeah.
And that was valuable. And those are 2 things that happened here at OSU that were extremely helpful to me in the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because when I started teaching, I had to continue to learn. I was in a field that continues to just explode, biochemistry.
Yes.
And I could not, in my 5th year, teach what I knew my 1st year. I had to learn a bunch of stuff that had been discovered in the interim.
So.
And then there was the wind tunnel between the library and the and the engineering building. Are you?
Yeah.
When I'd go back to Cordell Hall.
Hey, hold on. Can
We
we?
have 3 minutes left. Keep going.
Yeah, keep going. 3
Okay.
minutes.
Okay. In the winter, the wind out of the north, 20 miles an hour, and I was walking between the library and the engineering building, going north back to Cordell Hall, back to my room, and oh, that was bitter. And you'd have to walk at about a 45-degree angle because it was just like a wind tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
All of the wind coming, hitting those 2 buildings would just funnel down through between the library and the engineering building there, and that's a strong memory still.
Yeah.
But those were good days, you know.
Good days.
There were times when you think, oh, I don't know what's going on, but you look back and
Yeah.
it was a good education that I got here. Not only in the classroom, but outside the classroom as
Yes.
well.
And that sometimes is the most important education you can get.
Yeah, certainly equally important. Yeah.
So, anything else you would like to add? That
Just one. The last time that my son marched on the field and the alumni band came, and that was their day to march on the field with the band.
Mm-hmm.
I got out my old clarinet, had it refurbished,
Oh wow.
and practiced some, and got out there and marched on the field with him, and that was a treasure.
That's very neat.
Yeah.
So, I just want to thank you for your time today. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you coming in. It definitely will add to our knowledge of OSU, and thank you for your time.
You're welcome.